war, launched immediately after the presidential oath of office was pronounced, and with the warning that the battle would be bloody and sustained until the illegal drug syndicates are decapitated and demolished, and the millions of addicts closeted for rehabilitation. Honeylyn Bisco tells us more.
Change has come. The will to get rid of problems that have long been plaguing the country has taken off by this generation's strongmen. But how far did the tough-talking then Mayor of Davao, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, go in his first year of presidency? While campaigning months before the May 2016 national elections, the mayor has promised to establish a drug-free country within 3 to 6 months if he gets to be elected at the highest office. Several organizations, mostly human rights groups, expressed concern on the implementation of a large-scale anti-drugs campaign following cases of extrajudicial killings and abuse of power allegedly committed by authorities and vigilantes in the mayor's hometown. But believers were not swayed, giving their 16,601,997 votes to Duterte, making him the 16th president of the Republic. In his first State of the Nation address on July 25, 2016, Duterte reiterated his warning to all.
Do not do drugs.
He vowed to wage a war against illegal drugs, along with criminality and corruption. Thus, he called on the Philippine National Police, local government officials, and others with power and authority to triple their efforts if necessary.
We will not stop until the last drug lord, the last financier, and the last pusher have surrendered or put behind bars. Or below the ground, if they so wish.
In response, Duterte's appointed PNP chief, former Davao Cop Ronald Bato de la Rosa, has bravely carried on the said marching orders. Days turn to months, and months now turn to a year. The number of fatalities since the launch of Oplan Double Barrel rose from dozens to hundreds, and hundreds to thousands. Police reports cited that most of the suspects resisted arrest and shot at the operatives. Meanwhile, families of the targets have different accounts. This caught the attention not just of the locals, but also of foreign media. Even the once good relationship of the Philippines and the United States was put to test after the latter expressed concern over the Duterte administration's all-out fight against narcotics. This gave a push to the voice of the country's minority. Because of these factors, President Rodrigo Duterte's staunch critic, Senator Laila de Lima, filed a resolution asking the Senate to look into the rising number of extrajudicial killings and summary executions allegedly perpetrated by authorities. De Lima, a former CHR chair and justice chief, led a probe as she tried to connect the controversial vigilante group Davao Death Squad to the administration's drug war. In a separate resolution, she urged the Foreign Affairs Department to invite the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Summary Executions to investigate the cases and serve justice to the victims. Aside from the grave concerns of multilateral organizations such as the UN and the European Union, the lady senator filed the resolution after she was ousted as chair of the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Meantime, replacing De Lima, Senator Richard Gordon decided to terminate the probe, concluding that the reported summary executions were not state-sponsored. Gordon further claimed that contrary to the statements of local and foreign critics and human rights groups, the rule of law still exists in the country. Despite the successful operations leading to the arrest of tens to hundreds of thousands drug personalities, President Rodrigo Duterte sought for an extension on his self-imposed deadline. This as he realized the extent of drug problem in the country, which undeniably involved government officials and members of the police force. One example is the case of Albuera Leyte Mayor Rolando Espinosa, who was shot dead while being served a search warrant inside his prison cell by members of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Region 8. At present, minority senators seek an inquiry on the Department of Justice's decision to downgrade from murder to homicide the charges filed against the cops involved in the Slay case. The latter routes allowed the errant policemen to post bail. Early this year, the anti-narcotics drive was put on hold to give way for the organization's internal cleansing. The commander-in-chief decided to suspend the operations after South Korean businessman Ji Ju lost his life in the hands of corrupt police officials. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, for its part, found hope on this decision, saying it would give drug surrenderies a chance to undergo rehabilitation. But it only takes a month since the PNP resumed its anti-narcotics campaign. This time, it was dubbed as Project Double Barrel Reloaded. The top cop promised that such will be less bloody and that more people will be nabbed than killed. Before the campaign's resumption, De Lima faced arrest in February and has been detained at the PNP Custodial Center. She maintained her principles as she kept on denying statements that she coddled drug lords and benefited from high-profile inmates at the New Bilibid prison. Meantime, early in March, the House of Representatives approved on third and final reading the measure aimed at punishing perpetrators of certain drug-related crimes with life imprisonments or death penalty. While House Bill No. 4727 was swiftly passed at the lower chamber, it still remains a question whether or not the measure's counterpart at the upper chamber would get the nod of most senators. It can be recalled that in his first State of the Nation address, the President also sought for the creation of an interagency committee on anti-illegal drugs to integrate efforts and strengthen the partnership of the stakeholders involved. But it was only in the same month that President Duterte signed an executive order forming it. Also in March, petitions to unseat the two highest officials of the land made headlines. Magdalo Party List Representative Gary Alejano has filed the first impeachment complaint against President Duterte, citing the high crimes that his office has allegedly committed in connection with the bloody drug war. However, the House dismissed the complaint, which it found to be sufficient in form but insufficient in substance. On the other hand, the impeachment complaint filed against Vice President Leni Robredo did not also prosper because it has failed to have its endorser. Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez was the first to express his intent to oust Robredo, but he has yet to support the complaint filed by Impeach Leni movement. Alvarez took a swipe at Robredo after the latter criticized Duterte's anti-drug campaign in a video shown in a side meeting of a UN event. Based on a social weather station survey, 78% of 1,500 Filipinos surveyed from December 3 to 6 last year worried that they could be the next victims. Comparatively, a Pulse Asia survey conducted from December 6 to 11, 2016 showed 82% of Filipinos felt that it is now safer in their place because of the government's campaign against illegal drugs. Regardless of the good numbers prevailing in the last survey, the President rallies the support of World Economic Forum participants in Phnom Penh early in May, seeking their commitment to realize a drug-free ASEAN community. However, before the month ends, the ISIS-inspired group Maute tries to make a stronghold in Marawi. The local terrorist group Esper de la Rosa were known to have protected drug lords in the Islamic city. The police chief recounted that even before he assumed his post, they have received information that majority of drug lords across the region gathered for a drug summit in Marawi. Recently, as the clearing operations continue in the city, authorities were able to recover more than 100 million pesos worth of shabu, including those from a house of a former mayor who is said to be a financier of the extremist group. By realizing how serious the drug problem in the Philippines is, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte plans to extend the battle until the end of his term. Figures of dependence may differ, but the government, through the assistance coming from foreign and private sector, is taking all efforts to open more treatment and rehabilitation centers for drug surrenderies. In the first 365 days of Duterte administration, the crackdown was never left without controversy, but the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency deems it was a success. For GNN, the Global News Network, this is Honeylyn Bisco.